Dreaming of harvesting perfect, crispy cucumbers straight from the garden? Or are you stuck with sad, flimsy, or bitter ones instead? Watering might seem like the easiest thing in the garden, but it's actually a science in itself. One small mistake can truly cost you your entire harvest. In this video, we're revealing the top 5 most common and critical mistakes people make when watering cucumbers. You'll learn exactly when, how, and how much to water to grow the most delicious and productive cucumbers possible. Get ready to be surprised, because chances are you've been doing some of these things wrong. Cucumbers, guys, are incredibly thirsty plants. They're a whopping 95% water. They need consistent moisture, especially during their growth and fruiting periods. Their root system is quite shallow. This means they can't draw water from deep within the soil, like, say, tomatoes can. That's why getting the watering right is literally a matter of life or death for your potential harvest. But what does getting the watering right really mean? Let's break it down. So let's talk about the first and a very common mistake. It's watering at the completely wrong time. You might think the main thing is just giving them water, but for cucumbers, timing is everything. If you water in the middle of the day, under the scorching sun, most of the water will simply evaporate before it even reaches the roots. It's like pouring water onto a hot pan. The plants don't get the moisture they need, and the leaves can even get burned by droplets acting like tiny magnifying glasses. It's inefficient and can actually cause harm. On the other hand, watering late in the evening or at night isn't the best idea either. Moisture lingers on the leaves and stems. This creates perfect conditions for fungal diseases to develop. Powdery mildew and other problems really thrive in that nighttime dampness. Your cucumbers become vulnerable. So when is the best time to water? The ideal time is early morning. Before the sun gets high, the ground is still cool. The water slowly soaks down to the roots, getting where it needs to be. Any excess moisture on the leaves has time to dry before the heat sets in. This ensures optimal hydration and minimizes risks. If you can't water in the morning, late evening is an option, but make sure the leaves have time to dry before dark. But morning is your best friend. Keep that in mind. Getting the watering time right is half the battle for a successful harvest. Don't neglect this simple rule. Another common mistake one many people overlook is the temperature of your watering water. You might think water is just water, right? But for delicate cucumbers, that's not the case. Watering them with cold water from a well or borehole can be a real shock to the plants. Their roots can get stressed and growth can slow down. It's like being drenched with ice water on a hot day. Pretty unpleasant, right? The plant wastes energy trying to cope with this temperature shock instead of putting it towards growing and producing fruit. Consistently using very cold water can even weaken the root system, making it more vulnerable to diseases. The ideal water temperature for cucumbers is roughly the ambient temperature or slightly warmer. Around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius is perfect. How do you get water this warm? It's easy. Use rainwater collection barrels, or simply fill barrels or buckets with tap water in advance. Let the water sit in the sun or just out in the open air, and it will warm up to the right temperature. It's a small trick, but it will significantly improve your cucumbers' health. Remember, warm water is key to their comfort and getting a generous harvest. Don't be lazy about letting the water warm up. Your cucumbers will thank you with juicy, healthy fruits. Another common mistake is extremes when it comes to watering frequency. You either turn your garden bed into a swamp by watering multiple times every day, or you completely forget about your cucumbers for several days until they start to wilt. Both of these situations are equally harmful. Excessive and frequent watering, especially in heavy soils, leads to waterlogging. The roots start to suffocate without oxygen and begin to rot. This is a sure way to kill the plant. Excessive soil moisture also encourages the development of fungal infections. Drought, however, is also a disaster for cucumbers. As we've mentioned, they have a shallow root system. Without regular moisture from the top layer of soil, they start to suffer. Leaves wilt, flowers drop off, and fruit doesn't develop. And perhaps worst of all, under the stress of drought, cucumbers start to become bitter. That bitterness is a defense mechanism. How do you find the right balance? Watering frequency depends on many factors: the weather, soil type, and the plant's stage of development. In hot weather and during the fruiting period, you need to water more often. Water drains faster in sandy soils than in clay soils. The golden rule is to keep the soil moist, but not waterlogged. Check the soil moisture by sticking your finger about 2 to 3 inches deep. If it feels dry there, it's time to water. If it feels wet, wait. On average, in hot weather, water every 1 to 2 days. In cooler weather, every 2 to 3 days. But always base your decision on the condition of the soil and the plants. Constant monitoring and moderation. That's the key. Mistake number 4 is watering in the wrong place. You might think, where else would I water but on the plant itself? But for cucumbers, where you water is critically important. Many gardeners pour water directly onto the leaves or stems, especially when watering from above with a watering can. This is a big mistake. Why? First off, as we mentioned, water drops on leaves in sunlight can cause scorching. It might not be devastating, but it certainly stresses the plant. Secondly, and this is far more critical, wet leaves and stems create a perfect breeding ground for diseases, particularly fungal infections. Fungus spores thrive in moisture. Watering leaves in cool, damp weather, or in the evening when moisture lingers, is practically an invitation for powdery mildew or downy mildew. These diseases can devastate your harvest in no time. So, where should you water? Strictly at the roots. The water needs to go right to the root zone where the main feeder roots are. You can create a small dip or trench about 10 to 15 centimetres around the stem and water into that. Even better, use drip irrigation or a hose to water directly at the plant's base. The key is to moisten the soil, not the plant's foliage. Skipping leaf watering drastically cuts down on disease risk and sends all the water right to the roots, exactly where it's needed. It's a simple rule, but sticking to it can make all the difference for your harvest. Now, on to the 5th, and certainly not the least important, mistake. Inconsistent watering. Cucumbers really don't like sudden changes in soil moisture. Picture this. One day you soak them thoroughly, the next you completely forget, and the day after you barely give them anything. This is real stress for the plant. These soil moisture swings confuse them and disrupt their normal growth and development processes. This is particularly crucial when they are forming fruits. When the soil dries out quickly after a heavy watering, the plant goes into shock. And how do they react? By producing that very cucurbitacin, the compound that makes cucumbers bitter. Bitterness in cucumbers is very often a direct result of irregular watering and those moisture fluctuations. Furthermore, constant shifts in moisture weaken the plant, making it more susceptible to diseases and pests. Cucumbers need stability. They need consistently moist soil, not bone dry on top, but definitely not a swamp either. Establish a watering routine that fits the weather and your soil conditions and make every effort to stick to it. Whether that's watering every other day or daily during hot spells, the key is consistency and sufficiency. Consistency is the secret to healthy cucumbers and guarantees sweet, crunchy, bitter-free fruits. Don't put them through stress tests. But the biggest issue with all these mistakes goes far beyond just droopy leaves. Poor watering directly affects the taste and overall health of your cucumbers. For example, watering with cold water can shock your plants and stunt their growth. It also creates a direct path to root rot. Watering the leaves directly, especially in hot weather or the evening, creates perfect conditions for fungal diseases like powdery mildew to flourish. Those white spots you see on the leaves? They're often a direct result of this watering method, but perhaps the most frustrating issue is bitterness. That unwelcome bitterness in your cucumbers is actually the plant's stress reaction, and more often than not, this stress comes from improper, especially inconsistent, watering and wild swings in soil moisture. One day it's dry, the next it's waterlogged. The plant panics, triggering it to produce cucurbitacin, that very substance that makes them bitter. So remember these key takeaways. Warm water, watering directly at the base or roots, consistency, and watering at the right time of day are your main secrets to success. It's better to slightly underwater than overwater, but consistency is absolutely key. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I truly hope these tips help you avoid these common mistakes and grow a fantastic harvest of sweet, delicious cucumbers. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future valuable tips. Now tell me in the comments below, which of these cucumber watering mistakes was the most surprising or least obvious to you? Or perhaps you have your own tried and true secret for perfect cucumber watering. Share your experience with us.